to say that one, thank you for the opportunity, but the question you asked about what we're doing and what I think that's appropriate. One of the things that Alpha Phi Alpha has done in our 108 years of existence is that we've always been a part of every movement of social change. We've always been in the forefront. We've always taken the time and the effort to have our organizations all around the country get involved. So one of the things we did right up when this all began with Michael Brown's, we paid for the funeral costs. I don't know if you read the papers on that. We stepped forward and we paid for it. Our president urged us to establish town halls and get active in communities all around the country. We sponsored two town halls. We had one last week with the University of Maryland that we co-sponsored at College Park with the African American Studies Department. And we had a panel. And one of the professors from the African American Studies Department, he said something that was very profound. He said, we tend to think falsely that courtrooms is a place where justice is served. He said that's not reality. He said courtrooms reflect societal norms.
Right.
So when you don't get a conviction from a killing of Michael Brown and you don't get a conviction from the killing of Eric Garner, it tells you something about where our society stands and the people who serve in our courts and the people who work in our court system and the people who serve on juries. So when Jill Ortman-Faust says, yeah, that albino squirrel means that some people really don't think racism exists, and the professor at African American Studies Department at the University of Maryland says courtrooms don't reflect justice, they reflect the views in society, it says we need to do more, us, of talking to the people around us, the sphere of influence that we have, and showing them that albino squirrel. And convincing them that, yeah, even though you every day here don't encounter racism, it's real, it exists, and justice is applied differently to different folks. But then it goes beyond that. Another thing we talked about at that forum at a town hall meeting last week at the University of Maryland was that the accountability of the people that we hire and that we give the authority of the gun and the badge to matters.
Right.
Every time a victim is shot, killed, murdered, we always ask the question, what could we have done different? Could he have not worn the hoodie? Could he have not worn the baggy clothes? Could he have responded differently? Nobody ever asked, did we choose the right people to give that kind of power to? Is there a uniform minimum standard that's required across the country of all police officers? Do they do background checks and make sure that the people that they're hiring don't harbor these kind of views, are not associated with racist organizations? Do they, after they hire, do they go back and do routine background checks on the annual or some basis to make sure that they haven't recently become? There are a number of organizations out there that have great messages. And a lot of them cater to our uniformed officers. But when you look at the people who are associated with them, they have a lot of far-right views. So one of the things we have to do is we have to hold our people that we elect accountable, and then we have to have community review boards that are looking at what citizens' input citizens have and the choices that we make for the people that we hire. But here's the thing that I think is important. In 1857, with the Dred Scott decision, Chief Justice Roger Taney, when he issued down a decision for why he didn't think it was okay that Dred Scott, who was a free slave, could continue to be free, he said, my reading of the Constitution says that the black have no rights for which a white man must respect, is bound to respect. There are some people who do not believe that I have a right that they are bound to respect.
Right. Right.
And that's why we need the transparency, that's why we need the accountability, and that's why we need to go to the ballot box and vote. And that's why we need to get people registered to vote. That's why we need to have influence over who's elected so that we then have executives like the one we have, so that we don't have Ferguson's going on right now in Montgomery County. So Alpha Phi Alpha, we talked to one of the panelists here, and here's what he said we're going to do. Because one of the panelists said, look, a lot of times what we end up doing is, with these police cases, we end up settling. They said the unions are strong, the Blue Shield is strong. Some of these guys, you don't know what's going on. All police officers aren't bad, most of them aren't. Just like all black people aren't bad. So we don't want to judge them the same way, we don't want us to judge them this way. But she said to us, she said, if you, as a fraternity, can create a national forum, a discussion, that will allow individual citizens to be able to access just a regular template letter that anytime there's a complaint, they can fill it in and send it in. You begin to develop a file. And because police departments don't want to keep getting sued for having bad cops, that will go a long ways of getting the bad people out so they don't have to settle because they don't want to. So that's what Alpha Phi Alpha is going to do. That's just one of the things we're going to do. We're going to keep having town halls. We're going to keep having forums. But we're going to also make it easier for you as citizens to respond and provide information to allow us to have the kind of impact that we want to have, to identify the folks that we need to identify, to try to weed out the folks that we know are causing some of these problems. Thank you very much. Yeah.